Let's do this.
Your suffering will be legendary, even in hell.
Okay. I am gonna do my best with this one, but... wow. First, let me just say, I told you so. Second, let this episode serve as a reminder to never, ever give these writers the benefit of any doubt whatsoever. They almost lured me into a false sense of security here, because for most of the runtime, this episode wasn't good by any stretch, but it was tolerable. Don't get it twisted. This was the least awful episode of She-Hulk. Now they've set the bar for themselves so fucking low that doesn't mean much, but it's something. And that was 99.9% because of Daredevil. Now, I didn't like what they did with him because he was Disneyfied like I think we all knew he would be, and the writers just had to put him through their shitty, silly, LOL, nothing fucking matters because we don't give a shit about anything comedic filter. But the cool factor of seeing Charlie Cox back in the suit and kicking ass as the man without fear again was able to drag this episode kicking and screaming into the realm of something that was almost watchable. Not good, he's not a miracle worker, but watchable. For a brief time, Daredevil was able to transcend the asinine stupidity of the She-Hulk writers, and in that moment, you got a tiny little glimpse of what this show could have and should have been. Then the ending happened. The other 0.01% was that this was the first episode that actually kind of sort of felt like what the show was supposed to be. She-Hulk helps a vigilante with a court case, then teams up with Daredevil to do some crime fighting on the side. Oh my god! It's like it finally dawned on the writers that if we just have a cool superhero doing cool superhero shit on our comic book show, isn't it amazing how much better everything seems all of a sudden? The writers may have spent this entire series resenting the fans and resenting the source material, but the fact remains that the fans like the comics for a fucking reason. So for most of the episode, I was feeling cautiously optimistic. I was holding on to a tiny speck of hope that maybe, just maybe, Daredevil might escape this episode relatively unscathed. And he almost did. That's the bitch of it. I think something a lot of us took for granted was that the She-Hulk writers probably did not have complete free reign to do whatever they wanted with Matt Murdock. Because this is not just any male character for them to shit on and toss out like yesterday's garbage. This is a guy who's gonna have to carry his own show. And frankly, he's a bigger character than She-Hulk. So I'm guessing the Marvel Studios higher-ups gave the She-Hulk writers certain guidelines that they, against their will I'm sure, were required to follow. And that, I have no doubt, is the only reason why their treatment of Daredevil wasn't a lot worse. He had a few scenes in this thing that were downright encouraging. And he was the first male character in 8 episodes that the writers seemed to have a modicum of respect for, even if it was grudging respect. He's presented as intelligent, witty, a skilled professional as both a lawyer and a superhero, a great fighter, straight, solid dating material, and, most shockingly of all, a good person. Yeah, the writing was still fucking stupid, but as the clock was winding down, I almost started to believe that they were gonna get away with this and Daredevil would not be tarnished that much. Then the ending happened, and then the rest of the episode happened. And the second the Daredevil plot was finished, absolutely everything dropped right back into the shitter. Because at that point, there's nothing left to do but get back to the story. You know, the one about the big bad being toxic fans on a message board. Yeah, why introduce a supervillain or something cool like that when we can have our heroine be the victim of doxing? That was Intelligentsia's big plan to take She-Hulk down. doxing. Because once you've posted She-Hulk's cable bill for all the world to see, you've just eclipsed Dr. Doom in the villainy department before he was even introduced, haven't you? Anyway, the episode begins with the writers indulging in one of their favorite pastimes, taking obscure male characters from the comics and dumping shit all over them. This week's victim, Vincent Patilio, Leapfrog. Once again, we're talking about a character who wasn't terribly dignified in the first place, so what the writers do to him doesn't really matter that much. Plus, I think Leapfrog was a villain in the comics, so they're not turning a hero into an asshole this time just so they can be 150% transparent about how much they hate all men everywhere. Now, he is an asshole in this episode, but at least this time it's because the character is supposed to be. So he tries to do some crime fighting, but he's an idiot, so he just falls all over himself. Then he tries to escape, but his super suit malfunctions and catches on fire. So he goes to Jen, and he wants to sue the guy who made it. And that's a problem, because the guy who made it is Luke, the dude who made She-Hulk's super amazing new outfit like 3 episodes ago that we still haven't seen. And Jen really doesn't want to get on Luke's bad side, because for some reason, Luke is the only tailor on God's green earth who can make big and tall women's clothing. Don't think about it too much. So it's a conflict of interest. Jen does not want to take this case, thinks Pug should take it instead, because Luke is making her a dress for the Female Lawyer of the Year awards and she can't risk upsetting him, but the boss says no. You have to do it because this guy's dad is super rich and a big client of ours, and he wants She-Hulk representing him, so it. So she goes to Luke, and we get another example of why Jen is so damn bad at lawyering. Not the only example in this episode, by the way. This was just the warm-up, because she went there with the intention of making this all go away, but it's almost as if she was trying to piss him off, because she somehow manages to do absolutely everything wrong. Jen apparently did not vet Leapfrog in any way. She just took his word for it that the suit malfunctioned and never bothered to look into it. Then she goes to Luke and doesn't ask him any questions about the suit, doesn't ask for his side of the story. She just tells him there doesn't have to be a lawsuit, but you need to account for your faulty product and take responsibility for my client's injuries. And so, predictably, Luke, a guy Jen knows to be very prideful about his work, responds with, bullshit, I'm not taking responsibility for a damn thing because my suits don't malfunction. You, I'm not making you any more clothes and I'll see you in court. And as we'll find out in just a few minutes, Luke was right. The suit breaking down wasn't his fault, and this entire problem was the result of Jen not bothering to do her due diligence as a lawyer because she's the worst lawyer ever. So they go to court, and in walks Luke's lawyer, Matt Murdock. Jen looks right into the camera and says, "Who's this asshole?" Who is he, Jen? An actual good lawyer who knows what the he's doing and is about to completely school your ass. That's who he is. And then Matt proceeds to absolutely run rings around Jen. It's not even a contest. Within like 2 minutes, he has completely dismantled her entire argument. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Then he uses his super smell to find out that Leapfrog used jet fuel in the super suit's rocket boots, which was against the instructions Luke gave him, and just like that, Matt wins the case. Because when the one above all was creating dumbasses, he gave Jennifer Walters, attorney at law, some extra special attention. Are you kidding me? How do you just let yourself get spanked like that? I thought GLK&H was a huge law firm with tons of resources. Do they not have any investigators on the payroll? Did nobody do any homework on this Leapfrog clown? Did they not ask him any questions whatsoever or try to find out why the suit caught on fire before they went in front of a judge? Holy shit, this was embarrassing. But I'll say this, the scene did end up being pretty funny. Not because there were any jokes, there weren't, but because when pitted against an actual good lawyer, it was even more obvious than ever how fucking terrible Jen is at her job. She is constantly making one stupid, easily avoidable mistake after another. The only difference here is that the plot didn't say she could win regardless this time because Daredevil is a thing now. And the really ironic part is that's a corner the writers backed themselves into. They've openly admitted that they suck at writing courtroom scenes. And when you have people like that writing a show about a lawyer, it's kind of inevitable that your lawyer character ends up looking like a goddamn idiot because when the writers have no f***ing idea what they're doing, neither does she. And it doesn't stop there, because in addition to being clueless when it comes to writing courtroom scenes, the writers are also clueless when it comes to basic storytelling. Case in point, they revealed that the Sokovia Accords were repealed. One line. That's all it gets. One line, and then it never comes up again. May I remind you that the Sokovia Accords have been repealed, Matt says. Yeah, dude, you'd better remind us, because this is the first any of us are even hearing about it! You cannot be serious. The Accords that were such a huge divisive issue that they split the Avengers up, the Accords that had 100 and something different nations coming together in agreement that superhumans needed to be put in check because look at the chaos that results when they're not, the Accords that were ripe with storytelling potential with this new proliferation of superhumans in the MCU that we're seeing now, and you toss them out in a throwaway line. Why? What in-universe justification is there for getting rid of them? Because the reasons the Accords were introduced in the first place haven't stopped being a thing. If anything, they're an even bigger issue now than they were before. This is fucking stupid! And the real bitch of it is that if ever there was an MCU project that was perfectly tailored to finally explore and really do something with this concept for once, it was this one. Jen's a lawyer, the Accords are a legal issue. Maybe she takes on a client who doesn't want to sign the Accords and has compelling reasons not to sign them. Maybe Jen doesn't want to sign the Accords herself, but what happens when she doesn't sign? Does she try to defend herself in court? Does she create controversy for the law firm and lose her job again over it? There were so many things you could have done with this. But no. All that noise, the Accords were repealed, which we find out about offhandedly in a stupid case of the week plot that the Accords had absolutely nothing to do with this show. So Jen loses the case very, very badly, and she's completely humiliated, but far more importantly, now she doesn't have a dress for the Female Lawyer of the Year awards, which, by the way, are a multi-episode story arc now. Yeah. So Jen's drowning her sorrows at the bar later when she's joined by Mr. Murdoch, who buys her a drink as a peace offering. They get to chatting, and of course, Jen blames her loss on her client being an idiot. No, sweetie, no. That whole embarrassment could have been very easily avoided. You got your ass handed to you because you were the idiot who didn't know how to do her fucking job. Then the conversation turns to She-Hulk, and Matt has a line that is so practical and so perfectly reasonable, it had to have been put in the script by accident. Or maybe Charlie Cox improv'd it, I don't know. Either way, it's the best line of the whole damn series so far. I think you're in a unique position to do some real good. Jen Walters can use the law to help people when society fails them, and She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them. I know, right? Leave it to Jen Walters to need the concept of being a superhero explained to her in layman's terms that can actually penetrate that thick slab of granite she calls a skull. Matt has to step away to take a phone call, and Jen asks the audience that we're all feeling this, right? Because the scene is playing up the chemistry between these two so much it's almost jarring. But Matt gets called away on some emergency, and then Jen gets called away by Todd, the pretentious filmmaker douchebag who keeps popping up. He's a big client at the firm, so she has to go and talk to him at this romantic restaurant. He bought some Wakandan spear at an auction, but it was stolen and they want it back or something, but really, he just called her here so he could hit on her. So Jen gets right up and walks out, and if Todd is not one of the intelligentsia message board trolls, then I don't know what the shit he's still doing there. Jen goes home, and the moment she flops down on the couch, her phone starts ringing, and it's Leapfrog in desperate need of help because he was attacked on his way to the lily pad, his famous secret lair. And Matt's words seem to have resonated with Jen, so she figures, what the hell, why not give this helping people thing a shot? So she grabs the super awesome super suit that the writers spent an entire episode building up and then the following 2 episodes ignoring. We finally see it in all its glory, and it's a basic spandex onesie. Not really sure what the big deal was. Is it me? Do I just not understand the outfit stuff, or is that strictly a girl thing? Is this another situation like in Ms. Marvel where other characters were constantly giving her clothes for no reason and then it never paid off or amounted to anything? Like, what am I not getting here? So Jen hulks up off screen because we gotta cut those corners wherever we can and goes to save Leapfrog's ass. She stops his car on the top floor of a parking garage and the guy attacking him is Daredevil. It's our first look at the new red and yellow suit. I'll be honest, even in the comics, that one was never my favorite. I'm really missing the Netflix red and black. That suit was badass. This one, I guess it'll be okay if we only see it in low lighting, but we don't. So that could be a problem. There's a short fight, and there's not a lot to it, but with Daredevil involved, the quality of the choreography has instantly gone up like 10 notches. Mostly it's She-Hulk lumbering around and trying to get her hands on him, but she can't because Daredevil's flipping all over the place. So finally, she tries to get him with a ground shockwave that totally caves in the floor. And for her sake, I hope there were no innocent bystanders on the floor below them, because if there were, those people are fucking dead. There's some painfully cheesy banter. I'm gonna whoop your ass. My ass remains unwhooped. It's as bad as it sounds. It's forced as all hell coming out of Daredevil's mouth, but this is where we are now. Welcome to Disney+. He jumps off the side of the building, and an obviously CG Daredevil parkours down to the ground. He tries running after Leapfrog, but She-Hulk throws a car at him, which she could absolutely be brought up on criminal charges for, but if they ever mention it again, I'll be shocked. She still can't hit him, so finally, she uses the thunderclap thing and sends him smashing into another car. By all rights, that probably should have shattered his ribcage at the very least, and on the Netflix show it probably would have, but we're on Disney Plus now, so he just gets right up and he's totally fine. He's just a little bit dazed. So Jen grabs him and takes his mask off. Oh my god, it's Matt Murdock! And they immediately start doing more of that patented MCU banter that the She-Hulk writers have leaned into so much, and not in a good way. And here's where the differences become really overt. Disney Plus Daredevil smiles a lot, and he's quippy. He even makes jokes, and it is so fucking weird I don't even know how to process it. Now, I don't think Marvel plan on answering the question of is this the same character as Netflix Daredevil, or was that a variant? My guess is they will deliberately not address that and just let fans think what they want. But if they're leaving the possibility open that this is the same guy, then they're gonna have to connect those dots and reconcile both iterations of the character, because Disney Plus Daredevil is noticeably different. And I think Charlie Cox can do that, but not with writing like this. They go back and forth for a minute, Matt introduces himself as Daredevil, and they even play the awesome and badass Netflix theme song for a few seconds, but the moment is instantly ruined when Jen has no idea who Daredevil is and then makes fun of his costume. You! Also, Luke has been kidnapped by Leapfrog because Leapfrog is forcing Luke to make him a new supersuit, which Jen would have known if she'd bothered to ask any questions at all before attacking Matt and causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in property damage. So she's as good at superheroing as she is at lawyering, apparently. Not good. But as long as they're both here, there is an innocent person in danger, so maybe they should stop bantering like jackasses and go help. 1 out of 2 isn't bad, I guess. So they head to the lily pad, Leapfrog's famous secret lair, which is so secret it has a giant glowing neon lily pad sign on top of the building so as to tell the entire goddamn world what this place is. Because, you know, if Jen and Matt had to do literally any work whatsoever to find this place, that would have been harder to write and taken, like, effort and stuff. So this is easier. They survey the place from the roof, and there's a conversation about the difference between goons and henchmen. That the writers waste oxygen on. But the Sokovia Accords being repealed? One line. Matt instantly knows how many goons are in the building and where they are because he can hear their heartbeats. And Jen's too, which is beating pretty fast. Wink. The writers are still really pushing how into each other these two supposedly are, and the only thing saving it is the actors. Then they start bantering about how they should take out the goons. Matt wants to go in quiet and do it stealthily, but Jen's like, that noise. I can smash my way in there, and to hell with all those guys with guns. I'm indestructible. They can't hurt me. Jen, She-Hulk may be indestructible, but the hostage you're trying to save isn't. How safe is Luke gonna be if you're smashing through walls and bullets start flying all over the place? My God, Jen is an idiot. Eventually, though, Matt says to follow his lead, he dives headfirst off the building, and Jen is begrudgingly forced to admit that yeah, that was pretty cool. And you know what else is cool? Daredevil gets a goddamn hallway fight where he takes out 5 goons like a fucking boss. Hell yeah! It's not in the same league as the fights in the Netflix series, but it makes Daredevil look cool, and that's more than I dared to hope for on a show like this. And the ironic thing is, it's the first genuinely good fight scene in 8 episodes. And She-Hulk isn't even in it. Then reinforcements show up, Matt's about to destroy these guys too, but then She-Hulk smashes through the roof, crashes down right on top of them, bringing about a half-ton of concrete with her. And don't pay any attention to the bullshit groans of pain the editor ADR'd in there. Those guys are fucking dead. What she just did to them, their bones would be ground to dust. I don't want to hear anybody try to bullshit me on this one. Jen straight up murdered those assholes, and neither she nor Matt so much as blink at it. Wow. So She-Hulk smashes into the leapfrog lair, and I do kind of like this set. They made a little bit of an effort with this. There's plants and mood lighting and some fun props. He's got the Frogger arcade game. He's got the leapfrog signal off in the corner. This set is alright. If the intention was to make him a dim-witted Batman parody, they actually didn't do too bad of a job with this. Daredevil takes out all the remaining goons while Jen frees Luke and gives Leapfrog some legal counsel, which he then ignores and jumps out the window, yelling his signature catchphrase, but his jet boots don't work, and he just crashes to the ground like a jackass. Except in this case, the character being a jackass is the point of the joke rather than the butt of the joke. And the whole ribbit and rip it thing is intentionally cheesy, but he thinks it's cool. So it's another joke in the series that kind of works. That brings the tally up to a whopping 3. 4 if I'm being generous. Holy moly, that's almost all 5 fingers. Hang in there, She-Hulk writers. Maybe I'll need 2 hands to count the jokes one of these days. Or maybe not. So, all's well that ends well. The bad guys get arrested, Jen and Luke are cool now that she saved his life, but much more importantly, he's going to make her a dress for the Female Lawyer of the Year Awards, which Jen practically squeals about. It's gotta be a girl thing. I just don't get it. Then she talks to Matt, and they do more flirty banter where they bicker about who helped who and who was the lead superhero on this mission. It was Daredevil. Daredevil was the lead superhero on this mission, Jen. Just take the L and shut your trap. Finally, they arrive at the point, and we all know where this is going, even though they've been so subtle about it. Matt's heading back to Hell's Kitchen tomorrow, but maybe he can take Jen out to dinner the next time he's in town. Or yeah. So, 1 week removed from Jen spending an entire episode obsessing over why a guy she had sex with hadn't texted her back, she's already jumping in the sack with another dude who she's known for 18 hours maybe? Granted, she traded the hell up this time, can't say the same for Matt, but aren't we making Jen's complete lack of self-respect a little too blatant? It's to the point where I don't even want to root for her to get her shit together anymore. Like, is this the most healthy thing the character could be doing right now? And what makes it so uncomfortable is that I don't think the writers even recognize behavior like this as a character flaw. They just wanted the cool superhero Daredevil to be a notch on She-Hulk's bedpost, and that's clearly all the thought they put into it. That's the problem I have with this. It just paints Jen in a really unflattering light. I don't object to the sex itself, though. The sex is actually pretty on brand for both of them. She-Hulk in the comics hooks up a lot. Daredevil also hooks up a lot. Maybe not as casually as Jen does, but the dude gets around. So hey, if they want to have a night of fun between 2 consenting adults, whatever. I don't have an issue with that. That said, I do think they did it in a really stupid way. Instead of the guy having trouble getting the girl's bra off, the girl's having trouble getting the guy's supersuit off. Ha ha ha! It's not funny. Jen hanging her bra on the Daredevil helmet is not funny. Daredevil doing the walk of shame is not f***ing funny. The superhero who was just stressing the importance of stealth is now strolling down the sidewalk barefoot in his supersuit in broad daylight. Could Jen not loan him one of her man suits so he'd have some street clothes to protect his secret identity? Is Matt not worried about that all of a sudden? Wouldn't he be trying to stay out of sight until he gets back to wherever he's staying? Oh my god. See, up until this moment, the show's portrayal of Daredevil hadn't been perfect. It was definitely different in some polarizing ways, but there had been nothing irredeemable about it. And Charlie Cox was able to sell the She-Hulk writer's iteration of him for the most part because Charlie Cox is that good at what he does. But this was just too much. I can stomach Daredevil going from the dark, mature Netflix version to doing silly rom-com style banter as long as you stop short of stupid garbage like this. Everything else, yeah, the changes to the character were jarring, but it was nothing he couldn't recover from once handed off to some competent writers. But this is gag reel shit. And the only reason why I'm not yelling my voice hoarse again right now is because when the episode dropped, my expectations were already in the sub-basement, so I'd had about as much mental preparation as I could get. But it still wasn't enough to prepare me for the stupidity of what happened next. Jen addresses the audience again, stresses that she's happy because apparently Matt Murdock is very good at sex, so mazel tov. Then diverse female BFF barges in because it's time to get ready for the Female Lawyer of the Year Awards. Yes, we are actually doing this. So She-Hulk arrives at the gala all gussied up in her awesome new dress. She strolls down the red carpet getting the movie star treatment, and for a second I don't hate this because she's the center of attention and she's actually enjoying it like She-Hulk is f***ing supposed to, but it gets very stupid very quickly. Todd is there, either as a red herring or just because the writers hate us. The guy presenting the Female Lawyer of the Year Award is this super patronizing douchebag, and turns out the actual award itself is less of an award and more of a participation trophy that every girl lawyer gets just for showing up. That said, any lawyer award that Jen Walters is up for probably isn't worth winning in the first place. So like 6 different women win this thing, they're all up on stage at the same time, and I'm still not sure who this is supposed to be making fun of because frankly everybody looks like a jackass in this situation. But the Jackass of the Year ceremony is suddenly interrupted when the intelligentsia commandeer everything, and these two dudes in, I shit you not, bargain basement Doomcock cosplay appear on the Tron, and they're like,
She-Hulk doesn't deserve your attention and your praise.
No arguments on that one.
She doesn't deserve the power she stole from the Hulk. This is the truth. This is the real She-Hulk.
And then, instead of showing the crowd anything that might actually f***ing matter, they just show the stuff that Josh copied off Jen's phone last week. Her dating profile, a couple pictures of Steve Rogers' ass, all of which was publicly available, the amount of money in her savings and checking accounts, but not the actual bank numbers, so that's harmless, some regular run-of-the-mill texts about work stuff, her cable, water, internet, and credit card bills, yawn. And finally, the most damning thing of all, she's a big fat slut because she had consensual, vanilla, PG-rated sex with a man who she'd been on several dates with. Damn, Jen. You want some ointment for that burn? And then there's a video of Jen getting frisky with Josh that he secretly filmed, or maybe Jen filmed it, I don't know. I wouldn't put that past her. And sure, a sex tape isn't a great look, but it's Disney Plus. There's nothing in the video you'd have to put the kids away for. It's all very sanitized, you don't see any of the naughty bits, and Jen was in her human form the whole time. Embarrassing? Sure. Mortifying? Life-altering? Not really. As villainous mic drops go, this was pretty f***ing lame, actually. Imagine focusing on normal, everyday texts and the most tame and boring sex tape in history instead of the fact that you stole her blood, which was the really dangerous thing that Bruce warned us about at the start of the season. They don't even mention that part, but nevertheless, Jen gets pissed off, she smashes the Tron and brings down part of the roof with it. Everybody freaks out and runs for the exit. Then she notices some dudes in the crowd putting masks on, because you see, that's the only way she can identify them as bad guys. If they don't put masks on, they'll just blend in with the crowd and easily escape. So as it happens, the intelligentsia are really quite stupid. Jen smashes through the wall and grabs one of these assholes, and she seems close to going into Savage Hulk mode here, But then she doesn't, because they don't have the budget for a real Hulk rampage maybe, no matter how much more interesting that would be than this. A bunch of nobodies in black riot gear sporting fancy weapons and cannons mounted on their vans surround her. I really hope this is not Damage Control, because God knows the Ms. Marvel finale nerfed those poor bastards beyond all recognition, so suggesting they'd be any threat whatsoever to a Hulk is just fucking sad. But whoever the hell these guys are, where the did they come from? The actual danger started like 20 seconds ago. How the shit did they get there so fast? Were they just waiting outside on standby in case the gala full of rich white people descended into chaos? Wow, that's some big-ass coincidence, isn't it? So now She-Hulk is surrounded and in big trouble. Oh no! But is she really? She went quasi-savage for half a minute, give or take, but no one got hurt, and all she caused was property damage, which we've already seen her do multiple times throughout the season, including this episode when she was in her right mind, and she never got so much as a slap on the wrist for it. And if she did injure or kill somebody, so what? She killed those dudes at the leapfrog lair when she crashed through the ceiling, and even the cops didn't give a shit. So, again, I don't think there's anything that damning here. I mean, it's not good. She could lose her job over it, but Jen really didn't do anything that she hadn't already done before in earlier episodes or earlier in this episode, and never faced any consequences for it at all. So what's the cliffhanger? It's not her blood being stolen. If it was, they would have mentioned that. It's bad PR for She-Hulk, I guess, but they already did an episode where the public turned against her, and that amounted to exactly nothing and was resolved before the credits rolled. Whatever the intelligentsia were trying to accomplish here, I have no idea what it was or if they even pulled it off. Was it to get She-Hulk to lose control of her anger to show the world how dangerous she is? If it was, that's a pretty shit story, because the entire show has been predicated on the idea that Jen has total control of her anger and has never been in any danger of losing control of it even once since she ditched Bruce in Mexico. It's got no build-up whatsoever. So if that was the point of this, it's completely fucking random. Now, if there had been moments during the season when Jen came close to losing control of her anger and had to struggle to stay in control before something bad happened, that might be different. But you didn't want to do that, did you? You didn't care about telling a good story. You just wanted to do pointless, stupid, unfunny sitcom shit, and now here you are, going into your big finale next week, and I have little to no idea what the story even is or why anyone should care. This shit. Even the least awful episode of She-Hulk was still pretty damn bad. The mere presence of Daredevil was enough to elevate some of this, and as asinine as the Walk of Shame was, given the show's treatment of male characters in general since episode 1, I was expecting a lot worse. But ultimately, Daredevil was just a crutch, like almost every other cameo has been. His role didn't amount to anything meaningful, and in the end, he was written off as a booty call in a standard case of the weak plot. If that was the best way Marvel could think of to bring Daredevil back, they're in trouble. The checklist was slightly less egregious in this one, but its very existence is bad enough. The villain did get a chuckle out of me this time, but that was mostly because of the actor, and the character was still presented as a total clown. The intelligentsia thing is completely stupid, and whatever their diabolical plot is seems utterly toothless. If all they're able to do is embarrass Jen, then this whole project has been a waste. Yeah, I get that you thin-skinned snowflakes in the writer's room don't like it when people on Twitter say mean things about your show, but if it drives you so nuts that you have to make internet trolls your big bad just so you can take potshots at them, modeling their look after frickin' Doomcock, and even with a budget of tens of millions of dollars, his mask still looks better than theirs do, then maybe you're just not the kind of people who should be running your own TV show. Maybe a project like this needed some goddamn adults and competent writers in the room instead, but that's sure as hell not what we have here. She-Hulk is a shit stain on the MCU's underwear, and it's not over yet. Tune in next time when we finally, hopefully, get to whatever the hell the point of all this is supposed to be. Thanks so much for watching, and while you're here, please do all the other YouTube things. Ding the bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. Links to that and to my live streaming channel are in the description box, and most importantly, thumbs up the video, leave a comment, it really helps out with the algorithm. Share the video around, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned, I'll see you next time.